Students of Standard 9th, today we will learn 4.1 poem Please Listen, Anonymous. In this poem, we come to know that the poet may be a young adolescent person trying hard to prove that he is capable of solving his own problem. So I begin by reading the poem. Please listen. When I ask you to listen to me and you start giving me advice, you have not done what I ask. When I ask you to listen to me and you begin to tell me why I shouldn't feel that way, you are trampling on my feelings. When I ask you to listen to me and you feel you have to do something to solve my problem, you have failed me. Strange as that may seem. Listen. All I ask is that you listen. Don't talk or do. Just hear me. Advice is cheap. 20 cents will get you both, dear Abby and Billy Graham, in the same newspaper. And I can do it for myself. I am not helpless, maybe discouraged and faltering, but not helpless. When you do something for me that I can and need to do for myself, you contribute to my fear and inadequacy. But when you accept as a simple fact that I feel what I feel, no matter how irrational, then I can stop trying to convince you and get about this business of understanding what's behind this irrational feeling. And when that's clear, the answers are obvious. And I don't need advice. Irrational feelings make sense when we understand what's behind them. Perhaps that's why prayer works sometimes for some people, because God is mute and He doesn't give advice or try to fix things. God just listens and lets you work it out for yourself. So, please listen and just hear me. And if you want to talk, wait a minute for your turn, and I will listen to you. I begin with the explanation of the poem. When I ask you to listen to me and you start giving me advice, here the poet is saying that when I am asking you to listen to me, that is, he's telling his parents instead of listening to him, start giving him advice. So the poet is saying that you have not done what I asked. What I am telling you to listen to me, instead of listening, the parents are giving advice. So that means they have not done what he has asked them to do. The second stanza, when I ask you to listen to me and you begin to tell me why. So the poet is saying that when the child is asking the parents to listen to him, the parents start to reason out. They want to know why. So the child is saying that I shouldn't feel that way. You are trampling on my feelings. That means the parents are crushing the child's feelings very harshly. Trampling is crushing harshly. So in the second stanza, the poet is saying that when I tell my parents to listen to me, they try to find out the reason why, and he feels that he should not feel the same. He feels that as if the parents are crushing him harshly on his feelings. Third stanza, when I ask you to listen to me and you feel you have to do something to solve my problem. So the moment the child is telling the parents to listen to him. So the parents feel that he is telling us to listen to him because he has some problem and he wants the solution for his problem. So when the parents think that, the child is saying, you have failed me. You have failed me means you have let me down or did not meet my expectation. Now that seems very strange. So in the third stanza, the poet is saying that when I ask my parents to listen to me, they feel that they have to do something that the child is having some problem. He wants to discuss with the parents and the parents have to give the solution for his problem. When the parents start thinking this way, the child feels that the parents have let him down, that they have not met his expectation, and it is very strange. Listen, all I ask is that you listen. Don't talk or do, just hear me. So the child here is saying that I don't want y'all to talk or do anything. I just want the parents to listen to me. I'm only asking them to listen to me, just hear me. Then we come to the next stanza. Advice is cheap, 20 cents will get you both, dear Abby and Billy Graham, in the same newspaper. So the child is saying that when I am asking the parents to listen to me, they start giving me advice, saying I don't want advice because even in the newspaper you get advice, and newspaper in those days was costing only 20 cent, that is a penny, a coin. And Abby is a counselor or a person who gives advice, and Billy Graham is a preacher. So he feels that advice is available in the newspaper which is so cheap. So I don't want advice. I want the parents to listen to me. The next stanza, and I can do for myself, I am not helpless. May be discouraged and faltering, but not helpless. So he's telling his parents that I don't need advice. I can do things for myself. I am capable of solving my own problem. I am not helpless. I don't require your help. Maybe I am discouraged and faltering. Faltering means stumbling. But I am not helpless. I can manage things on my own. I am capable of solving my own problem. I can do it myself. I am not helpless. I may falter. I may stumble. But I am not helpless. I am capable of doing things myself, solving my own problem. When you do something for me that I can and need to do for myself, you contribute to my fear and inadequacy. So the child is telling, the poet is saying that when my parents think of doing something for me, things which I can do and need to do myself, but they want to do it, and what are they doing? The result is they are adding. Contribute means they are adding to my fear. They feel that I am not capable of handling my problems. They find inadequacy, that means deficiency or less qualities in me, that I am not able to solve my own problem. I am not able to face things on my own. So they are contributing, they are adding to my fear. The little confidence that a child has when the parents don't allow the children, they are adding to their fear and inadequacy. But when you accept as a simple fact that I feel what I feel, no matter how irrational, then I can stop trying to convince. So here the poet is saying that When you accept this fact that I am feeling what I feel, no matter how irrational, that means how illogical or senseless that may be, then I can stop trying to convince you, trying to make you understand, trying to make my parents believe. So that is possible only if the parents accept this simple fact that I'm feeling what I feel, even if it doesn't make sense. Then only the child will stop trying to convince the parents, try to make them understand. And get about this business of understanding what's behind this irrational feeling. So, the child is telling that the parents must not try to find out that how I can be so illogical or senseless. Irrational feeling is illogical or senseless feeling. So they must not try to do the work of understanding what is the reason behind this irrational feeling. And when that's clear, the answer are obvious. That means if they don't do that, that means it is clear, the answers are clear, obvious, and I don't need advice. Once again, the child is telling the parents, I don't need advice. Irrational feelings, that means illogical or senseless feeling, make sense when we understand what's behind them. So if it doesn't make sense about the feeling, it will make sense only when we try to understand the reason behind it. Perhaps that's why prayer works sometimes for some people, because God is mute and He doesn't give advice or try to fix things. So here the poet is saying that very often prayers, they work miracles. Why? Because when people tell God their problem, God doesn't sit to advise. God is mute. That means God doesn't speak, but He allows human beings to try to fix things themselves. He doesn't give advice. So just like God is allowing people to solve their own problem, so parents also must make children capable of solving their own problem. God just listens and lets you work it out for yourself. So please listen and just hear me. And if you want to talk, wait a minute for your turn and I will listen to you. So just like God is listening and is allowing us to work our problems ourselves, in the same way the child is telling the parents that, so please listen, just hear me. And if the parents want to talk, then they have to wait for their turn after listening to the child. So students, I hope you have understood the poem. I will now discuss the figures of speech. The first figure of speech is after the third stanza. Listen, all I ask is that you listen. So here the listen word is repeated. So the figure of speech is repetition. Listen word is repeated for poetic effect, and plus exclamation. So strong feelings are expressed. Two figures of speech in one line. Then we have the next one. Don't talk or do, just hear me. So here the poet, the figure of speech is apostrophe. The poet is addressing the reader. Then we have in the seventh stanza that I feel what I feel. Your feel word is repeated. So we have the repetition figure of speech. And the last one we have in the second last stanza. So please listen and just hear me. So the figure of speech is tautology. Listen and hear conveys the same meaning in one line. So the figure of speech is tautology. Now I come to the critical appreciation of the poem. The title of the poem, Please Listen, is written by an anonymous poet, and the poem does not have a rhyme scheme and has been written in free verse. The figures of speech in the poem are repetition, exclamation, apostrophe, and tautology. The central idea of the poem, Please Listen, is a strong statement to people who are always trying to advise others and solve their problems. The poet says that God has his own way of answering prayers. Rather than helping people directly as if by some magic, he helps them by making them capable of dealing with problems on their own and not depending on him. This is the deeply touching and motivating idea of the poem. For your assignment, you will do the warming up session, that is on page 80, the questions at the side on page 81, 82, and the English workshop on page 82 and 83. Thank you.